Welcome back, everyone, to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BETSPERTS. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christenson, and joining me, as always, showing off his fresh haircut again today, people. Look at that thing. It's great. Well done, Andy's barber. How are you doing, Andy?
Yeah, shout out Nikki for cutting my hair once again. I might even go, honestly, if I can talk my boss into making this some sort of business expense, because I got to be on camera, maybe I'll go to every 3 weeks. Just keep this thing fresh. I know I have a buddy, a Jamaican friend, so he has a much fancier haircut than me with the fading and all the things he does. Like, he literally gets his haircut like every 10 days. But he does keep that shit fresh. Like, it looks really nice. So I'm not quite there, but yes, thank you for all. I received numerous emails and Twitter DMs about my haircut. I didn't really, but we had some fun. It was fun. It was fun, like having a night off. There wasn't much going on. Honestly, there was some hockey, and I got involved with a couple plays from a couple people. Probably I might have ended up a little up if I wouldn't have played the Grand Salami, which is fun, but did not get there. The USA beat the hated Costa Rican team last night. We got that after.
We hate the Costa Rican team. Does
I
USA have a
don't
big
know.
rivalry with anybody in our, what is it, we're CONCACAF or NECONCACAF or
I'll try.
Mexico?
Yeah,
I guess Mexico.
I'll
They just beat
try.
us
I'll
so
try.
often.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a rivalry because they're that much better than us, but like it's the team we don't like the most, I suppose, in Mexico. So, and like, can you really have a rivalry with Canada if it's not a game that's played on ice, like curling or skating or hockey? I'm wild at hockey.
We did win the Junior World Hockey Championships, didn't we? We had the reigning hockey champion in
L3.
something.
I was want to say I'll try. Um, we we beat Mexico with our B team though a few months ago. I don't know if that was their B team. I just don't pay attention. Like if there would have been baseball on, I would not have paid attention. Instead, I got involved with live overs, live after Costa Rica scored. I want to say at like the 18-minute mark, you could get USA to score before halftime for about minus 110 even money somewhere in there. So I might have played a little of that. I might have played some over 2.5 at a very juicy number, which did get there. That's all we got. So live betting degenerate Andy didn't do too bad last night, despite the salami not getting there. And then just honestly laid it with Edmonton and went to bed, like minus 200 with the Oilers. Just went to bed. Didn't care. So God bless them for. I think they won like in overtime or something. Yeah. So
doesn't matter.
Doesn't
Who
matter.
Cares?
Didn't matter. Wasn't awake for it. We'll get to tennis here. One of our gals.
Nothing better than winning while you're asleep.
Moving on. But there is baseball tonight. Just the one game, as every other series has advanced to the championship series out of the division series. This is your final divisional series game with our guy, the Webb man for our Dodgers. It's just it's Urias for Dodgers. Total 6.5, 7 juicy under at some places. This is these two men didn't meet. I believe Webb was game 1, and then the Dodgers pitched Scherzer game 1. So you would have got, or maybe I'm mistaken there. I want to see Urias with game 2. So, but both of these pitchers have been seen once by these lineups, and I give these offenses a little credit for that. I am going to play a first 5 over just because these are getting so depressed at this point. It might depend on the Dodgers. The two games have stayed cleanly under, and 2 games have gone clearly over, and both of them were based on the Dodgers scoring. Like the Giants have won 2 games with 1 and 4 runs and shutouts, and the Dodgers 2 games they scored a bunch. So I might be depending on the Dodgers bats, but the Giants certainly have a good offense, and I'm not scared to back them for some runs here. So with this is 0-0 in the 7th inning, you can thank me, but I'm going to put a little bit on the first 5 over 3.5, as it has gotten incredibly cheap at this point. You can even find probably an expensive 3. I'm not sure I'd pay for that. I was going to say parlay this with first run scored in first inning, which is not something you can do. I'm almost sure that no one's going to let you do that. Maybe same game parlay shit. Like maybe FanDuel lets you do something stupid like that, where you get like no extra bonus because it's so incredibly correlated, and then throw in the full game total, maybe some home run props. But no, just first 5 over 3.5. I bet this at Chris for like minus 102, 103, something like that. I would be cheering for the Giants. I know people with Giants futures. I also just don't like the Dodgers. And I think it'll be a fun series. And then also, but I think Dan would be cheering for the Dodger because then he went through this, and maybe question to the chat. If you are an Atlanta Braves fan, first off, sorry. Second off, like, are you cheering to face the Dodgers because you'd get home field because they're a wild card team, or the Giants were maybe a worser team technically, even though they did win the division, but you wouldn't get home field? I think I'd rather face the Dodgers. Although Dan did have a point. He just hopes this game goes like 47 innings tonight.
Right.
And they're
You want
pitching
to burn as
positional
many pitchers
players.
as you can. But I think
Yeah.
you do want home field. The Dodgers, then you get to play, they'll be the underdog in that series, obviously. I assume they'll be the underdog, the Giants too, but it might be closer in that situation. I don't know. I always want to go against the Dodgers. I feel like they lose more often in the postseason than they win, but that's probably just short memory.
And regardless of like home field as far as how we treat it in other sports with the ref bias and the crowd, like home field in baseball is completely different because you get last licks. Like you get to bat last. There's nothing about home field like that in in football, anything like that. I guess hockey you get last change or whatever it is. So there are some goofy things like that, but in baseball, home field does kind of help. You can match anything that somebody puts up against you. You get the chance to retaliate and put up another run. So I would rather have home field and face the Dodgers. But tonight I will be cheering for like 6 early runs from the Giants. Put them away early. Take care of the hated Dodgers. And yeah. Well, then we'll figure out the CS series when we get there. We'll get some series prices up. Maybe we'll talk about that going into the weekend after we talk to Bear tomorrow.
I'm sure the Bear will have an opinion.
Oh yeah, we'll have to ask about baseball. Tennis we went 1-1 yesterday on futures advancing, and Pagula had a tough task. Azarenka's fucking redlining right now. And
yeah, she's playing great tennis.
Drew and I brought that up the other day. Like I forgot she's a former number 1. I had forgotten how high she'd gotten ranked. Like, this was like 10 years ago, but she was a very, very good tennis player. Still has.
She has a couple Grand Slam titles.
Yeah, also a couple of Grand Slam mixed doubles titles with, I'm going to show you this guy off the air. Just a horrifying, scary Belarusian dude. looks like he would be some sort of hitman in another life. Anyway,
Intimidation's key.
I've heard the ITF W60 Rancho Santa Fe tournament has started. That is the word on the Twitter streets right now. Have you taken a look at this yet?
It's been going all week. There's many levels to tennis. As Andy mentioned, we've got one outright left here for Miss Contivate today. 2 matches there in Indian Wells. I didn't love the price none of this. We'll just cheer for outright. But in women's tennis, you've got the WTA levels. And we've talked sometimes before about the WTA 125 level or the WTA Challenger level, even though they don't technically use that word. Even below that, if you will, like AA baseball, I guess I would compare this to, Andy, the ITF women's tournament. You have as many points. I think it goes as low as 15, as high as I've seen 80, 100. I think you finally get to the Challenger or something like that. But a lot of women that were in Indian Wells that lost in the first and second round are here in the United States and don't really have anywhere to go for another week or so. So they've kind of piled into this particular
They're not
tournament.
heading to Miami?
No. Unfortunately, they already played Miami. That'll be next year, Andy. Hopefully, we'll get back to that. But, they'll go here to Rancho Santa Fe. It's a relatively short travel spot. There's 60 ranking points. That's what the 60 means. The winner of this tournament will get 60 ranking points, which help get you closer to being a top 100 player, helps you start to get main draw entry to things, qualifying entry to bigger tournaments. And one of the matches I really like today, we faded Madison Brengle before. We're going to do it again. Madison Brengle, again, a veteran, and I think it's just getting some credit kind of for her name and not necessarily the year that she's had. Rebecca Marino, one of the many young Canadians. One of the spots for Canada really is up and coming, Andy, is in women's tennis. And even with Andreescu not kind of making the next step and struggling and kind of really going backwards since hitting her peak. You have women like Fernandez. Rebecca Marino here is a very nice young player. I like her minus 135 here against Brengle. I have this minus 160, almost 165 as I start to tweak some stuff. So anything minus 145 or better looks good to me here. I would like to play a spread, but this is a very low-level tournament. It'll take you guys a second to find this. BetOnline doesn't have this, but some other offshores do. Most of the legal books have it. If you're in a regulated state, you can find it. But if you can find a spread, that's not a bad idea either. But again, the money line looks nice to me. I grabbed 135 earlier today. Like the young Canadian again. Always happy to back a young player kind of on the upward ascension versus an older player on the way down. I think Marino's going to be somebody that I'll pepper a little bit here towards the end of the season in some of these smaller tournaments, and hopefully can carry that momentum into next year. So like the young Canadian here again, look for the ITF. You're going to have to look for ITF women's tennis in your book there. You should be able to find it.
Yeah, and if you are not in a legal state, you can find this at a sports book that rhymes with Nevada. Or Nevada, which would be a weird way to say it. Schmada. Nevada. And yeah, they do have a spread as well. I might have just bet that while you were talking. Thursday night football tonight, kind of a good one.
We're the best one we've had in a while.
Yeah, we're getting to the part of the season here where we're getting some decent games, some decent teams at least. And even the home underdog here has a fun young quarterback. And we've had a couple of games where Phillies looked fun. You're from Philly. What's the sentiment on the Eagles right now?
Did have the radio on. Actually got in the car this morning and literally just drove around for 15 minutes. I haven't too late. For some reason, there's something about being in the car when you listen to talk radio that makes it just a better experience. But I did. For about 15 minutes this morning, drove around and listened to it. There is a cautious optimism in the air here, Andy, and that never goes well. There's people that seem to think that the Eagles are going to come out here, really challenge this Tampa Bay team. For some reason, they seem to think that Gronk being out is a really big deal. I don't know if they've realized that everyone else in the Buccaneers will be playing tonight, and they're really good too. So generally, an optimistic Eagles fans on the radio is a bad thing here. They're catching 6.5 at home. The home field advantage is pretty solid. Again, I know I say this a lot of times when we look at some of these lines. I'm always a little curious to see that some of these lines have pushed out a little more. Like Tampa at 7, I guess they're just kind of looking for some teaser protection or something like that here. I would think that books would get Tampa money in almost any situation here. I mean, does this say to you that the fact that it isn't 7, that there are sharps coming in and back in Philadelphia here and keeping the number at 6.5?
I've seen money coming on Philly, but also I wouldn't be surprised if you saw game day money coming on Tampa Bay and push us back out to 7. I'm not involved. I think Drew got involved with Tampa Bay here at like a really cheap 7, just laying it. He expects a bloodbath, and the Eagles secondary could have some issues there. The Eagles have some nice pieces on defense, but Tampa will get theirs against apparently everybody but New England. And I'm not worried about Gronk being out. Much more worried about Levante David and Antoine Winfield on the defense. You can see this total is pretty high for a reason. I think Philly will score, even if it is, garbage time or from a negative game state where they're down a couple scores late. They will continue to press against a beat up secondary and be able to get something done. But no action for me. I'll be playing something at halftime with Drew tonight for sure. But pregame, nothing except for first touchdown scorer, of course. And I did a PrizePicks, and it's going to disagree a little with. Maybe it's not going to disagree with this, but I had a little trouble deciding on my Tampa Bay tight end between two of them, and you, sir, did not. So what do we got here?
Similar to what we did last time, although it didn't work out, is last game with the Colts, I said it probably will be Taylor. Unfortunately, his number stinks. It was. Hopefully, we put him in same game parlays and stuff like that. I had him in some things like that. But we go back to bat today. It's another game where, again, there's a lot of names at the top of the board that are really appealing, but there's just too many of them. Antonio Brown would be great to pick. Mike Evans would be great to pick. Chris Godwin would be great to pick, but they're all on the same team, and they're all 8-1. At various degrees. You can probably find them as high as 9, as low as 7, somewhere in that range. And this is, I expect the first touchdown to be a passing touchdown. I expect there to be a lot of rushing touchdowns in this game. Levante David, as you mentioned, being out, maybe changed things a little bit for Tampa Bay in that regard, but the line is still solid. The Eagles have had trouble running the ball. Much has been made of what Miles Sanders cannot or will not do. Kenneth Gainwell's looked nice in spots, but the Eagles, again, haven't done well running the ball. So Tampa Bay has been good against the run. Those two things obviously start to cross those out. Same thing on the other side of the ball. The Eagles have actually been pretty solid in terms of being scored upon in the run game, but give up a decent amount of passing touchdowns. As Andy kind of hit it at with Winfield out, with some of the struggles the Eagles have had at safety, I think the ball will be going up and down the field till there'll be a lot of opportunities for not only stuff down the field, but down the middle of the field, which means it should be a great tight end game, which means I grabbed 3 of them. Zach Ertz for the Eagles here. He is not only one of the more targeted tight ends, but Dallas Goedert's out. He's not going to be there, taking up targets, taking up opportunities. I think this is going to be great for Ertz. He's somebody I would look at in DFS, maybe make him your captain or something like that. I'm not sure if that's a good game theory strategy, but I think it's a very good opportunity for him, not only given Goddard being out, but what I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to give him kind of in the middle of the field there. On the other side of the ball, the Eagles, again, issues with the safeties there. The linebacker play hasn't been great. I think Brait and Howard have a chance to step in here. Howard, I think, is actually probably the better of the 2 plays here if you really wanted to pick one, not only given that he's the higher number, but has been getting a little more attention as of late and is used in a more dynamic way. But again, I think the Eagles are going to give up stuff in the middle here, and both of these guys will have an opportunity to catch this touchdown. I have this, closer to 12, kind of the 12 to 14 to 1 range for both of them. So happy to grab them in the 20s. And then one wide receiver here, somebody for the Eagles. I was surprised as I started to look at, different box scores, go through game script. Quez Watkins gets a lot of attention inside the 20, a lot of attention inside the 10 as defenses start to focus more on those tight ends, focus more on Devontae Smith. There seems to be more creative opportunities for him to get open and take advantage of, again, weaknesses down the line in terms of cornerbacks. Antoine Winfield will be out. That means everybody else kind of slides up a little bit here. So curious to see what opportunity he has. Again, a lot of small numbers that I would like to play, but just too small here. The value to me, again, looks it's in these 3 tight ends and Mr. Quez Watkins. So there's a 4-pack for us tonight. We'll see if we can get one of them.
And I was just able to play Quez and OJ at 30 at a certain offshore that is not taking new signups. It's a weird old school button. That's I don't understand.
I think I still have an account there, but I've never had money in there. I signed up for it. I never deposited. I wonder if I can still get an initial deposit something.
They also, strangely enough, do not take new deposits that are not crypto. Only crypto at this point, which is honestly all the books should be that way. It's so much easier. It's the only way to do things. For me, before we get going tonight, I did do a PrizePicks entry, which means both of these men will get hurt, or in Jalen's case, because I took an under, he will obviously take the first touchdown for like 60 yards. But I did go Jalen Hurts. I have his rushing total lower than this. I kind of run my own numbers, and then I double check the 4-for-4 stuff. And then go look at some target stuff for the receivers and some of the, the red zone things for everybody as well. But Jalen Hurts under 43.5 rushing yards. This is not a good metric to use because a lot of this depends on who you've played. But Tampa Bay has allowed the fewest rushing yards to quarterbacks out of anybody in the league. So, and again, when you don't face running quarterbacks every week, like if you were just to happen to face like Kyler Murray and a couple other running quarter, if you face Lamar and Kyler, like your number's not going to be low over a small sample like 5 games like that. That's just why some teams are high, but they have been decent against the quarterbacks taking off, getting any rushing yards. And even with David out, I do like their front 4. I like their linebackers. I like their scheme. Keeping him under 43, I don't think will be a huge issue. And then OJ Howard and Cameron Brait for receptions. Brait did not get the target share last week. I'm not sure if that's something going forward that's going to happen. I think it'll probably be bouncing back and forth. I feel like they should get a fair split of targets, but Brait was 2 catches. OJ Howard was 1.5. So I just really, I have them almost similarly ranked as far as how many targets, how many catches for today. So I went with OJ Howard over 1.5 catches for my PrizePicks. For you, you can do this too. You can get an instant deposit match up to $100 if you use promo code BBB or promo code BETSPERTS NFL. Either one of those, if you are a new user, will also get you a free $25 if Tom Brady completes a pass tonight, which I will need that if I want Cameron Brait to go over, unless I'm expecting a backup. And so free $25, free $100, and an entry that I just gave you if you want to play along with me. I'll probably do some hockey stuff too because I'm addicted to that now. And with that, probably just call it a Thursday, guys. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging out. If you have any
you
hot
tomorrow.
tips on Thursday night first touchdown score, hit me up. I already placed all the tight ends, though, so you've probably missed your window. Don't forget to sign up and win bets. Promo code BETSPERTS1000. Don't forget to hang out with us at halftime. Don't forget to check out Alex's basketball
Halftime
stuff.
winners.
Don't forget to set your fantasy lineups. It's the first week with buys. So check that shit. And we'll catch you tomorrow.